Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining on today's webinar titled Data Validation in the Cloud, QuerySurge in the AWS Marketplace. My name is Bill Hayduk. I'm the CEO of RTTS, QuerySurge's parent company. I have with me Mike Calabrese, Senior Solutions Architect and QuerySurge Expert. I'll kick off the webinar with a slide deck, excuse my frog voice, followed by a demo of QuerySurge in the AWS Marketplace by Mike. The webinar's target time frame is 30 minutes. Our goal is to keep it short and to the point, and we'll provide a recording of the session at a later date. Which reminds me, if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the Q&A panel. We'll answer them as fast as we can after Mike's demo. And also, please use the chat to alert us if you have any issues. And thanks again, and now we're going to start. So why Amazon Web Services? Well, one is pay-as-you-go flexibility. AWS eliminates the need to build and maintain on-prem servers. With this pay-as-you-go service, you only pay for the exact computing, storage, and networking resources you use. The second is ultimate scalability. You can scale hardware, meaning RAM, CPU or GPU power, and disk space up or down in minutes to meet your needs. Next is speed and agility. Speed up QuerySurge users by providing service and softwares in clicks rather than in weeks. Global reach. You can deploy QuerySurge globally to multiple regions and availability zones in minutes. And also you benefit from highly secure infrastructure designed to meet the requirements of the military, global banks, and high sensitivity organizations. So basically all you need is an AWS account. You can spin up QuerySurge in minutes. Here's the main use cases for QuerySurge in AWS. First is migrating to AWS in the cloud. QuerySurge can help your team prove that data has been fully and accurately migrated. QuerySurge compares source and target data across more than 200 platforms. Modernizing a data warehouse as teams modernize legacy warehouses on AWS. QuerySurge validates that new data models, transformations, and reporting outputs match expected business results. Testing in a data lake like a Databricks data lakehouse or other data lakes, QuerySurge validates data as it moves through raw, clean, curated, and consumer-ready layers of an AWS lake. Validating file-based data feeds in S3 buckets. QuerySurge in AWS validates S3 file feeds by comparing source files to downstream targets for accuracy, completeness, and transformation issues. Automating data ops pipelines. QuerySurge is the leading data ops provider in the data validation space, and it brings automated data validation into your DevOps and data ops workflows. Also, assuring the accuracy of BI reports. QuerySurge helps validate the data feeding BI reports, including Power BI, Tableau, Oracle, SAP Business Objects, Strategy, and Cognos. So with QuerySurge, AWS teams can validate up to 100% of data across your pipelines. You can use our QuerySurge AI, which we'll explain a little later, to speed up test creation. You can test transformations, joins, and aggregations, and also all your business rules. Validate BI reports against underlying data, and integrate validation and CI/CD / data ops workflows. And lastly, support compliance needs with validation results and reporting. Here's some information on QuerySurge, the market leader in automating data validation and ETL testing. QuerySurge supports 6 use cases: data warehousing, big data initiatives, DevOps, data ops pipelines, data migration projects, BI and analytics testing, and testing of enterprise apps and ERPs. QuerySurge connects to any 2 points in your data pipeline, extracts data from both the source and target, and compares every cell to identify mismatches, gaps, and anomalies. Then it delivers detailed validation analytics and auto-ready reports to help your teams prove data accuracy and completeness. This is all done very quickly. Also, QuerySurge can test data pipelines at every step of your data journey. So here's a simple map of data movement, a data pipeline. In a typical ETL process, developers are going to build data movement based on defined mapping requirements, and ETL testers are going to use QuerySurge to automate validation of the same data movement against those requirements, confirming that the data was transformed, loaded, and delivered accurately from point to point. Here's a partial list of the 200 plus data stores that QuerySurge supports. As you can see, we support just about every technology in the marketplace, from big data and NoSQL to databases and files and APIs and everything else in between. QuerySurge also has lots of ease of use features that get you up and running quickly, and we also provide all the training aids and support needed to make you successful. Here's the QuerySurge components. It supports multi-projects, QuerySurge Wizard to make it easy so you don't have to program, also QuerySurge AI, a design library for custom tests, a scheduler to run either now or at a time in the future or anytime you want, a runtime dashboard for results, and intelligence reports and analytics dashboards. Here's a quick look at our wizards. We did a poll on LinkedIn and found out from data architects that basically 70% of columns in a data warehouse have no transformations at all, meaning they're straight migrations. Here's where the wizard excels for migrations. It easily creates tests for you with no need to program, providing 70% of total coverage, and it helps both novice and experienced team members get their job done quickly. We are the foremost leaders in AI for data validation, ETL testing. What QuerySurge AI does is it solves an age-old problem for test automation, how to remove the need to write SQL code and make test creation easy for everyone. We have two basic modules. One is mapping intelligence. Mapping intelligence bulk automates the creation of hundreds of tests from data mapping documents. And then we have query intelligence, which provides a fast chat interface, not unlike ChatGPT or any of the other ones out there, but it generates individual tests and refines existing SQL tests. So it does this without you having to write any SQL. So it basically allows anybody on the team to create tests. We also have two deployment models. One is in the cloud, externally hosted and cloud-based, and the other one we call core, which is an on-prem model for complete control. So if your security team requires that none of your data ever leave your environment, you can use core. If they're fine with it going into the cloud, fast as anything, you can use Cloud AI. QuerySurge's BI tester also provides an approach to solving the complex problem of testing data embedded in BI solutions. BI tester automatically validates that the data shown in reports and dashboards matches underlying source and transformation logic. And you can do things like migration from one vendor to another or from one version to another. QuerySurge is great at that. DevOps for Data is the leading data ops module out there in our space. It's the most comprehensive solution. It has over 60 calls and 100 properties and allows users to integrate with virtually any DevOps or data ops solution in the marketplace, and has Swagger documentation. That's a living, breathing doc. Also, our data analytics dashboard and data intelligence reports help you analyze your results, understand the health of your data quickly. And then we have something called Ready for Analytics. So if you wanted to create custom dashboards and custom reports with your BI tools that your team is using, or if you don't have a BI tool, we connected this to open source and free Metabase. You can use that to create your own custom dashboards and reports. All right, so that's a quick overview of QuerySurge and where we fit in the AWS space. And now Mike Calabrese is going to show us a demo of QuerySurge in the AWS Cloud. Mike, all yours.
All right, Bill, thank you for setting the stage here. We'll take over sharing now and we'll go ahead and get started. So today we're going to first walk through how to find QuerySurge in the AWS Marketplace. Then we'll be looking at how to actually spin up an instance with QuerySurge in your EC2 management console. And then we'll take a look at a live example where we're going to be comparing an AWS RDS instance against an Amazon Redshift instance. So we'll first start by taking a look at the AWS Marketplace. QuerySurge can be found by just searching for the name QuerySurge in the Marketplace itself. And that will bring up all our different offerings that we have. So with QuerySurge, we wanted to provide some different offerings based on different team sizes and also the availability of our add-on modules. So as Bill mentioned, if you were maybe interested in doing some BI testing or integrating QuerySurge into your AWS Glue or CI/CD stack, we have available the BI tester module as well as the DevOps for Data module. And those are available in our Team Plus, Group Plus, and Division packages. We also have a free trial available, so anyone interested in maybe seeing if QuerySurge is a good fit, exploring some of our features and functionalities, our QuerySurge User 2-pack does offer a free trial. And for all of these offerings, you can click in, learn a little bit more about them on our AWS Marketplace page offerings. And if you do want to try it out, down at the bottom or up at the top here, you can see View Purchase Options and then go ahead and click that subscribe button. Once you do subscribe to a QuerySurge offering, you can come on over to your EC2 dashboard and then select Launch Instance. And then from here, a common interface that you may see with your QuerySurge EC2 instance launches, just giving a name to your instance. And then you can search here for your AMI image for QuerySurge. And QuerySurge is offered as a server offering. It comes as an AMI that you can deploy as an EC2 instance. And it deploys always behind your firewall, behind your security mechanisms, always within your tenant, such that you and only you have access to the data being tested and validated by QuerySurge. So once you select your QuerySurge AMI image, it's just as simple as going ahead, selecting your recommended hardware instance type based on your testing needs, then providing or setting up your credential information, and then configuring your network settings. When spinning up a QuerySurge EC2 instance, I do recommend working with your AWS network administrators to either create or select an existing security group that provides access to the QuerySurge EC2 instance to your data stores. So that's an important piece of information to understand. QuerySurge would need network access to those data stores so it can pull down the information, bring it into QuerySurge, and then validate those tests. Once you have those basic pieces of information selected, you can just click the Launch Instance button. And that will automatically spin up a QuerySurge EC2 instance. We can see here that in my Amazon account here, we already have an instance running. The one we have just spun up should just initialize in a few minutes. So once that initialization process is completed, you can log in, start setting up your connection, start testing with QuerySurge in a very short amount of time. For the existing instance that I have set up, we're going to go over a basic scenario here. As Bill mentioned during the slide presentation, usually when data is moving from anywhere in your environment, there should be a source to target mapping specification. So we have created one here for our basic scenario. We're going to be looking to move data from our Postgres RDS instance to a Redshift instance. And we're going to point QuerySurge to both of those to validate that that movement has happened and is happening as we expect it to. We also have some definitions here for our mapping requirements. The first few tables, we're having little to no transformation, so we're expecting the data just to move over and move over completely as it was in the source to the target. And then finally, for our monthly summary mapping tables, we do have some filtering and some transformation logic that is taking place to be able to organize and roll up that sales data in our example here today. So we're going to now jump into the EC2 instance that I have set up and configured. So we'll just switch over quickly now to a QuerySurge instance that I have in AWS. We will now be taking a look here at what you would expect to see when you were to, let's say, log into your EC2 instance for the first time. So what you see is here we have some icons pre-populated on the desktop. You can launch QuerySurge directly here from this link. We'll open up a web browser to your QuerySurge instance. We also come with a helpful README document that shows the basic steps required to be able to log into your QuerySurge instance, the project section, as well as the administrative section to do some of those configurations, as well as information on how to access our extensive knowledge base, our video library, and if you do have any questions, the ability to contact us and ask those questions themselves. Now we'll come over to QuerySurge, and this is the default landing page when you log into QuerySurge. Is going to be in the design library. And one of the first steps that you'll probably want to do is set up your connections to your AWS or other data stores that you're looking to test with QuerySurge. And that can be done from the administration module like you see here. You can see I already have my connections set up for our Postgres and Redshift instances. Our connection wizard is very straightforward, easy to use. We do come with a number of different connection wizards that help walk you through the setup. So for example, the PostgreSQL connection wizard just requires you to input your server, port, database, and credential information, and you should be good to go to set up that connection. We even offer a test connection option here to make sure that you can validate those connections as you go through and set them up. If you don't see a data store that you're interested in listed as part of our connection wizard, we do give the option for what we call connection extensibility. And all that was required for the connection extensibility option is for you to have a connection URL or string for your instance and a JDBC driver or connector to go along with that. And that allows us to connect to pretty much anything out there in the marketplace today in terms of data stores. So anything from your traditional databases to your data lakes to even things like files, flat files, JSON files, Excel files, etc. So we'll start now by taking a look at some of our tests that we have set up here, and we'll come into the design library and take a look at our query pairs folder. You'll notice we have two XMart and ZCity tutorial data folders too. So in the interest of helping and aiding our users get up to speed on QuerySurge, we do come pre-populated with data that you can utilize as well as a setup wizard with a full tutorial mapping guide. So if you're just looking to get familiar with the functionality and features of QuerySurge, we do have that tutorial built into the product to help you get an understanding of the basics before maybe going in and making those connections to your actual data sources. For our demonstration today, I'm going to dive into our AWS demo folder here, and you can see I have about 5 query pairs set up. The first query pair that we have here is just going to be doing a basic row count, so a high-level test. And in here with each query pair, we have the capability to run what we call a design time run. And this is useful to be able to do sort of a one-off type of run as you're developing your SQL statements and you're wanting to see what type of data you're getting back. And if you wanted to look at the granular results of the data, you can open up our results view window. And in here, you can see all of the source data, all of the target data that was returned, as well as any failures. And you can see right off the bat here, we're having some discrepancies amongst our order counts for the month. Looks like every month here is having some issues except for the month of June. So that will need to maybe do a bit of a deeper dive and understand why our order counts are off. And that's where QuerySurge's benefits really come into play here. So we can actually take a more granular look at the data as opposed to something you may be doing with your manual SQL scripts or your minus queries or your stairs and compares, where we can actually pull information from both of the tables on our Postgres and Redshift data stores and actually compare granularly to see what is going on. And here you can see we get a bunch more rows back. We're actually looking at each of the result sets that are coming in here. And we can see right off the bat, we have some differences in our row counts. We have a number of failed row counts that we might want to look into. So once we bring up our results window and go over to the failures tab, we can actually see what's going on down to the cellular level in both of these tables. And you can see we do have some discrepancy. QuerySurge highlights them for us. Our order date on our first row is off by a day when compared to the source and the target. And we could also detect what we call non-matching rows, so missing rows on either the source or the target side. So the two order IDs that you see here are present in our RDS source, but not present in our Redshift target. So for whatever reason during the ETL or migration process, they have not made it over to the target, and that's going to be something that we do need to investigate. And each of the subsequent rows, you can see I have a variety of different issues. For a more high-level view, we also do offer the Results Analytics tab. And this is a great place to start when you're reviewing your results. This will give you a breakdown for each field. So if I were interested to see which field had the most failures, I can do that here. And it looks like our order amount field is being the most problematic in this test. So that would be a good place to start my investigation. In terms of being able to communicate these failures, share them out with the different resources within your groups, we have the capability to export out all the information you see here in the results view window. You can also choose just to export the source target information as well as the combined failures. And you could do that in either an Excel, CSV, or XML format. And if, let's say, you had a large amount of results, let's say you had 1 million failures and you want to showcase those issues to the development team, you don't need to export all of them. Maybe you can just do the first 10 or first 100. We give that feature as well at the results view level. Now, everything I've been talking about so far has been within the design library. This is where you're going to be developing your tests. When it comes time to actually wanting to run a more formal test that's part of, let's say, your sprint work, or you're wanting to integrate that within your ETL process or your migration process or your CI/CD pipelines, that's where you want to come over to the scheduling module where you can group your query pairs together into test suites as you see here. Test suites themselves can be run on a schedule, so either one time or recurring. So if I did want to run this overnight or every first of the month, I have that capability directly in QuerySurge. I can also integrate QuerySurge using our full-fledged API here, and this is our Swagger documentation that's built directly in the tool. So connecting with and connecting to data pipelines is very easy using the API. So when an ETL process or a migration process completes, you can then kick off your associated tests. I also have the capability to just run this now, which is what I'm going to do for this demo. And that's going to take us over to our Run Dashboard module, where we can see all current and previous executions. So as you can see, I've been preparing for this demo. I've been running a few different scenarios, as you see here. So if there were any audit or compliance needs to review historical results, they're all stored here for you in QuerySurge for as long as you'd like, and you can come back and revisit them anytime that it is required to maybe satisfy those different audit requirements. And as your tests are running, you can come in here, you can actually view as they are executing in real time the results that you're seeing here. You can also click into each result and you get a similar view to what we saw in the design time run, where you can see the source, the target, and the failures here. So clicking through each of the different query pairs, you can switch through and see the different failures for your different test suites here. Now, in terms of being able to notify managers, stakeholders, anyone interested in reviewing the results, we have several options. What I have tied to this particular result is an email notification going to my demo user mailbox here. So if we just give that a quick refresh, we should see the latest results come in here. And it does provide a nice report-like format for those stakeholders to review. It gives you the overall outcome, which has failed because we did have some failing query pairs here. 4 out of 5 did fail. It does give me some other additional metrics, such as how long that test took to run, which was just over 46 seconds. And within those 46 seconds, we did just over 1 million verifications. So you can see that within that time, you think of that as all of the cells that were compared for each of the query pairs. We did over 1 million of those. And that is a much faster rate than you can imagine doing something with just the row counts or manual stare and compare or minus queries. QuerySurge really does the heavy lifting when it comes to comparing those results. And obviously, we can see here all of our failures. We have 1,000 failures out of that million, and that gives us our data reliability metric, which is about 99%. But based on your needs, you can then decide whether that is something that is acceptable to you or that is something that needs to be investigated. And that's what we can do here by clicking into these results, viewing those results within QuerySurge, and then trying to figure out where the problems lie and then rectifying them before they can have really any impact in your downstream systems. And there is a whole bunch more features that I would love to show you. I know we're coming up on our time here. That covers the presentation for today. And as always, Bill's going to discuss here. If you do want to learn more, we're more than happy to meet with you, discuss your particular use cases. And Bill, I'll send it back over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Just a couple of house cleaning before we get to Q&A. One is QuerySurge comes with, we're providing free courseware and certifications for anyone that attends this webinar. As you can see, the first 3 courses there are more generalist courses about ETL testing, BI report testing, and DevOps for data testing. And the next 4 are QuerySurge centric courses that really dig deep into how to actually do this. So if you're interested, the code's at the bottom. And then again, as Mike showed you, you can find us in the AWS Marketplace. You could schedule a private demo for your team if your team wants to see exactly what Mike just showed you. And there's a 14-day free trial in the AWS Marketplace. And all this information is on this page right here, which we'll provide to you in the next week or so to everyone that registered for this webinar. So if you want to learn more about QuerySurge in the AWS Cloud, or do a free trial, or get a demo, it's all right here, or take any of the courses. All right, Mike, so let's get to some Q&A. First question I have for you is, does QuerySurge have to be deployed in AWS to validate AWS data sources?
All right, thanks, Bill. The answer to that one is no. We did have that particular setup in the demo today, but QuerySurge can connect to AWS data sources from any other environments, as long as the network access drivers, credentials, and security rules are properly configured. We do offer the AWS Marketplace to give teams another deployment option, but we also support deploying on your premises, on a bare metal server, on your own VMs. Also, we do have an Azure deployment as well. So really any cloud providers that can host a VM, we'll be able to deploy QuerySurge on and connect to data sources wherever they may reside.
Great. What AWS data sources can QuerySurge connect to?
Yeah, so in addition to the traditional RDS and Redshift sources that we saw in the demo today, we can connect to a number of different AWS offerings, Amazon Aurora, Athena. We can also, and this is a really common scenario that we're seeing, especially in the beginning of data pipeline feeds, are files stored in S3 bucket. So if you have feeds that are pumping in JSON, CSV, or Parquet files to an S3 bucket, that is something QuerySurge can connect to and validate that that data residing in those files is propagating appropriately downstream.
Why would we use QuerySurge instead of writing our own SQL scripts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last example that we just showcased sort of maybe proves out that point. I think most teams we see are starting with manual SQL scripts. They're doing those row counts. They're maybe doing some data sampling. But with both of those testing methodologies, things can get through and slip through the cracks. So with QuerySurge, you're able to validate down to the granular level as data moves throughout your architecture and actually pinpoint those issues rather than just identifying them, really digging deep into the results and seeing where they are. And in addition, QuerySurge does offer, as we mentioned, the ability to review past results, have them stored in all one location. And I'm sure compliance and audit teams and any industries that are dealing with those requirements, that's something that they would like to have, and the QuerySurge can help support in that initiative.
Can QuerySurge validate data in Amazon S3 or only databases like RDS and Redshift?
Yeah, so I think we answered that with one of the previous questions, but yeah, the answer is yes. If you do have data in S3 buckets, we can connect to them. We are able to pull them in through a variety of different methods. And as Bill mentioned, if you do have a particular question about a particular file or technology you're wanting to connect to, we are more than happy to meet with you, discuss your particular use case, and see how QuerySurge can be of assistance in solving your problems.
All right. Is this mainly for migrations, or can it be used for ongoing data pipelines?
Yeah, I would say both. Migrations is a really good fit for QuerySurge. We're seeing a lot of people move from either on-prem to AWS or from another cloud provider to AWS. And QuerySurge, from a migration standpoint, has what Bill alluded to in the slide deck, our query wizards, which really streamline that process and make it very simple to create those tests where those transformations are minimal. But yeah, we also do support ETL, ELT pipeline testing. When you want to incorporate those transformations into your test based on your mapping documents and your requirements, we have the QuerySurge AI feature that really aids the data testers in being able to create those complex SQL statements that are required to test those complex transformations. So the answer is both, and both work well with QuerySurge.
How does QuerySurge help when the row counts match, but the data is still wrong?
Yeah, and that's a common gotcha, I would say, when first starting out with data testing is, you're starting with those high level tests similar to the earlier one where, you're writing your own manual SQL scripts, you're doing data sampling or row counts, and the row counts themselves can match. You can have the same amount of data on your source, on your target, but the actual field values themselves may have a difference. And you won't catch that with a row count test, but QuerySurge would be able to pinpoint those areas for you, allow you to report out on them, share them with your ETL developers so that they can understand where the issue is and provide a resolution before it really has any impact downstream.
Great, thanks, Mike. I think that's all the time we have for questions. If we didn't get to your question, we'll be happy to send you the response offline. So that wraps up our Q&A. Thanks again, everyone, for your time and participation. We will send you a follow-up email with the webinar recording and the slide deck, along with our contact information if you have any additional questions. So thanks again. Have a great day, everyone.